2nd, 2022. The time is, we'll call it about 5 after 6. I've asked Jim Rowland if he would lead us in prayer. Open this meeting with prayer.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to be here tonight at City Council. Grateful for our leaders that lead and guide our city and make the decisions that make this community what it is today. We pray that that will bless them with the things that they need tonight to make good decisions on the matters that come to the table. We're grateful for all of the moisture in the air and pray that it will continue and that we can all travel safely to and from this meeting and throughout the night and tomorrow. We pray that thou would be here with us today and inspire us to make good decisions and have a great meeting. And we pray these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Jim. I've also asked Chief Spencer if he would lead us in the pledge.
Would the audience please rise? Repeat the pledge of allegiance after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. You may be seated.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, we'll continue with the meeting. B, the consent agenda. Approval of the October 19th, 2022 City Council minutes. If there's no discussion by council members, I'm ready for a motion.
So moved to approve.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and it's been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Council Prosgaard.
Yes.
Council Carter.
Yes.
Council Hyatt.
Yes.
Council Beecher.
Yes.
Council Christensen.
Yes.
Okay, carries unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to C, petitions. We'll start with number 1, the Communities That Care Mayor's Youth Recognition Award. Kim.
Will Paisley come up? Okay, this is Paisley Mormon, and she is from Payson Junior High School. And sorry, if I can't fall. I'll do my best to talk into it. So these are the things that her school had to say about her. Paisley is a great example to her fellow students. She has a positive attitude, a great work ethic, and is always kind to those around her. She has a quick smile that is infectious to those around her. She is very quick and willing to help her fellow students or just share a kind word. And then another one said she's a great student, asks relevant, well thought out questions, and is willing to go the extra mile to make sure she understands the material we are learning. She is an all-around hard worker and a great person. And then another, let's see, there's one more. They just emailed me today. The last one said, oh, I think I printed on the back of my page. Oh, no, I guess I don't. That was it, but that was wonderful. Thank you, Paisley. No. Okay, and our next one is Christian. Oh, yeah, stay. You're in the hot seat for a few minutes. So Christian Garcia, come on up. So Christian is from Mount Nebo Middle School. I have a really hard time not calling it Payson or Mount Nebo Junior High anymore. So these are some of the things that the faculty and staff had to say about him. Mrs. Stevenson said, Christian is a great student. He is hardworking, he is friendly to his classmates, and he helps them when he can. He is funny and charismatic. And they said, I've known Christian for years, and he has always been a delight to have in the classroom because of his ambition and drive to learn new things. He loves to read and draw and is very creative. Mrs. Hawk said, Christian is a hard worker and a good student. Christian is willing to share his writing in class, even though that can be scary. He makes the best of the situation and keeps his audience engaged. Mrs. Franco said, Christian is an incredible kid with the heart of gold. He is so willing, so kind and willing to help others. And I can really trust him, which isn't common with seventh grade boys. So I thought that was a really great compliment. In percussion class, he works hard even when he doesn't understand something. He practices until he gets it. And if I correct him on something, he works to fix it. Mrs. Bennett said, Christian is one of the most friendly students that she knows. He takes his work as an office aide very seriously and is great about answering the phones and taking messages and making sure we understand them. Mrs. Ray told me that Christian is a self-motivator and a great example to his peers. And Mrs. Wilson, who is the person who nominated Christian, said he likes to draw. Science is his favorite core subject. He plays percussion. And, middle child in the family. So an overachiever, good for you. He has enjoyed spending time with his cousins and he can solve you. So congratulations. Mom and Dad, if you want to come up and take pictures, the council come down and. Hey.
That's like Twitter, right?
It's always the highlight of the meeting when we can do that. So thank you for being here. We'll go on to number 2, Chamber Quarterly Report. Christine Fry, are you with us? Yeah, you are. Come on up.
Okay, I'm Christine Fry with the Chamber. So on our third quarter report, we held the first pancake breakfast at Orchard Days. It was a slow start, but they feel like it will be better coming up. Michelle said we made $811 on it. And then we also attempted to do an ice cream stand at the Orchard Day Rodeo and at the Onion Days Car Show. They didn't see much participation and we're not sure if we'll do it as a yearly fundraiser, but we made a total of $674 with the combined events there. And then the hometown market we did in Santaquin from June 13th to September 26th. And we averaged about 15 booths each week. And we attempted a weekly theme this year. I believe that was new to appeal to the public. And our young entrepreneur night was a huge success. We recommend this for the Payson Farmers Market. And we also held our shop local event during the hometown market. We had 9 chamber members take advantage of this, and we're hoping to get more people and double it for next year. And then we had 4 new businesses join the chamber from July to September for a total of 152 members. And then Michelle Lyons, our executive director, gave her official resignation on September 23rd with a 90-day notice. So the hiring committee at the chamber is in the process of interviewing candidates for that position. So that's all I got.
Well, thank you for that report. Appreciate it very much. Any questions, council? Okay, thanks again. Okay. Number 3, it's time for a public forum. If anyone would like to speak to us about items that are not on the agenda, please do so. Please take hopefully no more than 3 minutes. And address us if you would. So we'll officially open the public forum. Most of the people that are from the public have already. We got staff here. Okay, anybody online? Not seeing any online or here in the chamber. We'll go ahead and close the public forum. And then we'll move to number 4, staff reports. Anybody? Chief Bishop, come on up.
Mayor, council, and some members of the public. Everything's going great, right, in the public? I just have a couple things. We held an adoption event over in Spanish Fork for the South County Shelter, and we had some pretty good success adopting out a bunch of animals because we're way overcrowded at the shelter because we're getting all the COVID animals coming in. So we had an event and it turned out really well. Not as much as we'd like, but they did adopt a lot out. So we can get some out to families and not have to house them for months and months before we adopt them. Second thing is winter parking is coming into effect here pretty quick, and we're gonna start issuing out some warnings to try and get our streets clear, because hopefully there's more of this white stuff this winter that we can get that taken care of. Other than that, I think we're good.
Wonderful, thank you.
Unless you have any questions for me. No?
Doesn't look like, thanks for what you do, Chief. Donna. Oh,
The Communities That Care had our twice yearly prescription take back event, Payson Market. We had National Guard come and help us, and we also had a intern from Mountain View Hospital come and help us, and our police officer, and we took 140 pounds and delivered that to the DEA. And then one benefit, I don't know if you guys know, when we hold these take back events, the police department gets to take everything out of their evidence that they've collected out of the box out in the lobby and turn that over to the DEA. So I don't have to worry about getting rid of it. They just have to store it for that 6 months in between our events.
okay, thank you. Thanks for what you do. Donna.
I just wanted to report on a couple of things at the library. We had a Halloween event from 11 to 5 on Saturday before Halloween, and we had about 380 kids and families come through. Molly does a really, really good job, so I always like to say thanks for Molly because she's awesome. And also in October, I attended the Directors Summit, which is sponsored by the Utah State Library every year. And we just kind of meet as directors and talk about things, but we were also awarded. Okay, so every year, the Utah State Library, to stay a certified library, we have to meet certain criteria so that we qualify to access their databases and their grants and things. And we've been certified for years and years. We've had really good directors that have kept us certified. But this year, we also were designated as a quality library, which we were 1 out of 10 in the state. So we got this really cool rock that says we're a quality library. But this, I was the one who accepted it, but it really is something that speaks to the whole community, because those criteria that we meet, part of it is the city is meeting budget qualifications, and our IT department, there's certain things we have to have. The IT, there's a facilities check that we have to do. And all of those things are actually a statement about our whole community. And so I really, really appreciate the support that we have. And we're a quality library because we're a quality city. So thank you for your support and for the staff support. We have a lot of support from so many people.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much for what you do, and tell Holly that
Molly and everybody, I mean, my whole staff, I mean, I just can't even, I specify Molly because you guys got her full time this year and I appreciate that.
okay,
But everybody over there is just amazing. So we
well,
have really
let them
good-
know how we feel, would you please?
And our patrons are fantastic.
I wish,
too.
that's why I wish the general public, that they should be here to listen to that.
Well, it's great. So we appreciate everybody's support. Do you have any questions for me? I don't come up very
Council?
often, but I'm not always, but I'm there a lot. So you can always come visit us. And we have a really good fall reading program going right now. Super fun. And so come over, ask questions. Love to have people come in. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dave.
Mayor Council, we did secure some new Christmas decorations. They're downstairs if you want to go see them. It's going to be quite a bit of work to get most of those up this year, but we worked with Mr. Greg, and he passed away, and so we've been working with his estate. I think we got quite a few things for the city, and it should help. So
I made the statement, he's got it up for decades, so.
we'll start getting Christmas decorations up in the next few weeks so that they're up. They'll be turned on just soon after the
Thanksgiving.
day after Thanksgiving. So, and our water content's 115% of normal, but that was as of this morning, I think. So I think it'll jump up quite a bit for the storm that we have today and tomorrow. But
That doesn't mean we're good for the year.
oh no,
No,
no.
just the start.
Last year this time we
It's one of
were.
those stats, it doesn't mean anything.
Last year this time we were 300% of normal.
Right.
Yeah.
And we dried out in November, December, and so, but it is good that we're above normal,
Right.
even for a small time, but hopefully these storms will keep coming.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
any little bit helps.
Thanks, Dave. Any other staff? Oh, Chief Spencer.
Mayor, Council, want to take a minute to thank Councilman Prosgaard and Steve Spencer. As you know, we ordered that water tender, and try as we may, trying to get that chassis so it'd be under 10 foot, it just didn't happen. So we had to tear part of that building apart. It was a challenge with the block and the brick, and those guys really made a difference and got that job done. We're still waiting on the panel they had to create because the door is a little bit bigger than the bay doors we have on the roll-up portion. But we'd really like to thank them. We got the water tender put in service last night, and took our old water tender to Kent so they can use that up there in the landfill to help wet down the mulch so it breaks down a little bit better. Also, we're going to be participating with Parkview School in their Veterans Day Parade again. They started out a few years ago. They tore around all the schools and stuff with the public safety. And I know Chief Bishop and his crew will be there, but it's a fun event to drive around the city to pass all the schools with the veterans and stuff to recognize them. So lots of calls going on, and as always, trying to hire medical people. That's a challenge for everybody. Volunteers are getting harder to come by, and it's all about the money anymore. But just the other night, we were about 6 calls in 3 hours. So with transfers and medical and fire and stuff. So it stays busy. So but we appreciate all your support. So thanks.
I carry a page because you're gracious enough to let me have one, and I get to keep track of the calls you go on. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other staff? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and move to council reports. We'll start with Council Prosgaard, so I don't forget you guys. Council Prosgaard.
Yes, I would like to know what the council in whole disposition is on creating a committee for looking at the possibility of a dog park and location. If you guys all like that idea, I'd like to put it on the agenda for next council meeting and start working towards that.
You know, I think that would be great, and I'll let the other council answer too, but I would like to check with staff during that week and then we can make, progress as a council. What's the council feel?
No, that's fine.
I don't have any problem with that.
I just think it's gotta be done in a new development, or we can get it in an existing park, but.
Okay.
It's worth looking at. Sorry, Bob, you probably can't hear us, but,
I couldn't hear you.
oh, I just said, I think it's gotta come in somewhere new, some sort of new development. We can't put it in an existing park. It was too much backlash, but I think it's worth putting a committee together and see if we can figure something out.
Okay, sounds good. I think you got your answer.
Then maybe we could have Kim put that on the agenda for next council meeting.
Okay, she's nodding her head.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council Carter, thank you for being here. I know it's a chore for you right now.
Thank you, Mayor. And I don't have anything. I'm extremely thankful for the moisture that we're getting and hope that it continues. And I'd like all the city employees to know how much they are appreciated. And that's all that I have.
Thank you, Linda. Council Hyatt,
I don't have anything. I agree with Linda.
wonderful. Council Beecher,
I don't have anything to add. Everybody's doing a great job, though.
wonderful. Council Christensen.
Oh, I'm gonna let them have it.
We're just gonna have
No,
to hurt you. Is that
just,
what it is?
yeah, no, that's fine. Just, I had a good meeting with some of the staff yesterday. And just kind of want to push that forward a little bit, talking about small home-based businesses and the opportunities to venture outside of the actual dwelling unit. If we could work on that a little bit and see if that's within code. I'd just like to put that on official record and move that direction. But otherwise, I think staff is great. They're super wonderful to work with. You call and ask questions, they answer them. They're always pointing me in the right direction and keeping me in line. So I appreciate that. And I am excited for the snow, even though no, I'm not ready for it, but nonetheless.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go on to D, action items. Number 1, resolution amendments to the Payson City fee schedule at Gladstone 2023 rates. Tracy?
Mayor and Council, I'd just like to propose the rates that you guys have probably seen in your packet and discuss anything you want. This is for the 2023. We want to get it done now. We'd like to start with those rates on December 1st because we have a lot of people that buy passes for Christmas. So, and I'd like to discuss the season passes a little bit. You probably heard the story last year. We opened them up on the biggest snowstorm of the year with power out, and they sold out in 1 hour and 50 minutes. So we want to kind of avoid that situation. It was like an iPhone release or something, or a Black Friday, or which we're not used to dealing with. So what I'd like to propose this year is to have a grace period for of a week for the people who bought passes this year, that they could purchase that pass for 2023. And then if there's any remaining, that we would open it up to, we'd take a waiting list and open it up to those who didn't have one that wanted to get on that. Kind of like Green Bay Packers tickets. And how BYU tickets used to be.
Hopefully one day they'll be
Yeah,
there
maybe,
again.
I don't know about that, but that's what we'd like to do. The rate structure, we're the last one to get it passed. So Springville, Hobble Creek, they've all passed this. A couple of things of notes. We're always bragging about our golf course. So us and Hobble Creek would be exactly the same. We'd be a little more than Spanish Fork and Timpanogos, the old East Bay. And with just costs of doing business, everything's gone up. We can't keep absorbing the cost of everything. And then I believe our golf course warrants being, I think it's one of the best in the state, especially in the valley. So we want to be on that top end for that, and still balancing, making it affordable for locals. So I don't know if you have any questions. Another thing that is different is doing a tournament fee on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday of a flat fee of $9,500. That number just didn't come out of the air. We look at all of our Fridays, Saturdays, and see how much money we average. And so knowing that we send people off of number 10, the back nine and the front nine at the same time. So that's still a discount if we had all foursomes going off 1 and 10. But we feel like that's a fair price if they want to have an event there, and then they can bring up to 144 players, and that's enough for us to shut our facility down for them. Other than that, I guess the 5-day pass, which we've had grandfathered for 4 years now. I think there's nine individuals left. We want to move that to a 4-day pass and not raise the price. I've spoken with I think all but 2 of them, and explained the reason, because Fridays are so busy, and Friday's considered a weekend up there. So, and they've all been, at least to my face, pretty good. I mean, I'm sure they're, and obviously they'd have the option to purchase a 7-day pass if they felt like they want to play on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So if you have any questions or.
Doesn't look like it. Anybody online? Bob, Linda?
No, I like what's proposed.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay. Then I guess if there's no other discussion, I'm ready for a motion.
I move that we approve the recommended fee schedule for the 2023 season of the golf course. Go from there as proposed.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion been seconded, roll call vote, starting with Council Christensen,
Yes.
Council Beecher,
Yes.
Council Hyatt,
Yes.
Council Carter,
Yes.
Council Proscard.
Yes.
Thank you. Carries unanimously. Moving on to number 3. No, number 2. Let's get ahead of myself. Yeah. Ordinance amendments to Payson City Development Guidelines. Travis.
Mayor and council, if it pops up here quickly, but this is just a summary of what we changed. A lot of this is just due to stuff that we're seeing out in the field to add some information and that to make it clearer so that when the contractors always say, show me in your code where I have to do that, this is kind of what that addresses. So that's just a summary. I don't really want to go through 63 pages of each item with you, but if you want to, we can. That's just kind of a quick summary. If you've had a chance to look at any of them, it's pretty general on stuff, but it's just addressing issues in the field. So
Did we look at changing the way we do our service entrances for the PI and culinary water? You and I had talked a little bit about putting those in manhole as a general rule to follow Spanish Forks guidelines.
we didn't change them into a manhole yet, but they are in a vault, which we would allow a manhole or a vault. I don't think that would be an issue. We
Right.
could specify that in another round if we need to.
Okay. Well, I just know we had talked about it, and is watching developments come in and they blanket develop the whole area, and then they come in and put the houses in, and sometimes those little green boxes end up in the middle of concrete, and it'd be nice to have them.
No, we didn't change that yet.
Keep that in mind.
I will add that in.
There's some way we can add, I guess this is more Bob or Robert, sorry. Because I listened to your Monday morning meetings and how some of the developers just keep sending this stuff in and they haven't done the red lines. And I don't think you guys should have to keep going over stuff that they're not doing. I mean, there's got to be a way for them to don't send it in if it's not done. Because you guys, then that just takes you away from another development you could be looking at that are doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, I hear that almost every week, so I've wondered about that.
So we can't prevent somebody from submitting a submittal. But we do have in our code the provision to charge fees after a certain amount.
I think, we don't want to be mean to people, but if they're continually submitting and they're not hitting those red lines, they need to know that, hey, you're costing me money, so I'm going to charge it back to you for costing me money. And I mean, I want people to keep coming, but it sounds like there's a few of them, it's the same ones over and over and over again. And I just don't think our people should have to spend time on redoing that over and over and over again when they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Because the people, the developers that come in and they say, what do we need to do? And it's done. Like, we see that, you guys see it. And whether their projects just go so smoothly.
Follow the rules, follow the guidelines.
Exactly. And I want to make it easier for you guys, because I know you have a lot of work on the table, and I don't want you to have to repeat over and over and over again for people who aren't following what they should be following.
If I may, as I've reviewed these, in an effort, Teresa, that we have tried to be more user-friendly to the contractors, particularly the larger commercial contractors and what have you. I think this is the step in a direction of clarifying and making our process more readable and more user-friendly that will help them complete those things. Obviously, I get where you're coming from. Obviously, there are contractors out there that try to do the least amount possible. But I think this helps clarify and help set our design standards and the guidelines more readable so that when they do submit, we can just say, you know, you need to go back and read our guidelines one more time and complete the things that you're missing and stop wasting the time of staff in reviewing those that are incomplete.
Thank you. That's what I meant.
Does that sum it up, Travis?
That will work.
Okay. I'm on
Thank
board.
you.
I like what you've done.
Thank you.
Any other comment, council? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the development guideline revisions as noted in our council packets.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Council Prosgaard,
Yes.
Council Carter,
Yes.
Council Hyatt,
Yes.
Council Beecher,
Yes.
and Council Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Travis. Okay, now we go to number 3, resolution, real estate purchase contract for 800 South Street with Payson Business Center LLC. Dave?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, we have, we had a real estate purchase contract that came before you not too long ago with the Red Bridge property. We received some funds from Mountain Land Association of Governments to preserve the corridor. And so we completed that transaction and we're getting ready to close on that one. This is the one with Dr. Clark. There's a couple of small pieces of his property. The funds that we got from MAG will pay for it. We did do an appraisal on that and he's agreed to the appraised property. So we have a real estate purchase contract for your approval. There is some greenbelt rollback for the small piece that we have. We've checked with the county. It's an additional $5,000. We're still working through Mount Lag to see if they will pay that through their money. If they don't, we will pay that out of our funds. We still think it's a good deal because the grant money is paying for the bulk of it. So that's what's before you. Dr. Clark is good with it. He's actually signed what's in your packet. We'll probably have him sign a new one because of some of the dates, but we're hoping to close within 90 days after council approves this. So.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
Quick question. Won't the county work with us on that greenbelt rollback since it's city purchase property for roadway that's going to benefit the county?
I think they still make you pay for it, but they're not taking all of his property out of greenbelt. They're only taking the little part that we have, and he's planning on farming the rest. So we've talked with them. I don't think they'll give us a break, but hopefully the Mountain Land funds will pay for it.
Well, there's a couple of them up for re-election right now. Maybe we can persuade them.
Maybe the powers that be in our council can talk with the commissioners. We could look at that, Bob. I don't know if they would change that. We've had to deal with these rollbacks before on different.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, before we pay it, let's Mayor and I or Mayor and Brett or some Kurt have a discussion with a couple of the county commissioners.
Yeah.
I know when Central Utah buys property and it's been in Greenbelt, I have to pay the Greenbelt taxes. So
yeah, we could ask, maybe you.
We can ask
to, a couple of the commissioners, but I
We
don't
can
know
ask.
if they'll have a lot of.
Well,
power.
one commissioner is going to be going out and the other two are staying, so we
Yeah.
can talk those two.
Right. Okay.
Bill Lee. Brandon Gordon's going to be in his place, more than likely.
I thought it was an uncontested on the ballot.
Yeah,
That's what I thought too.
well, I think he is pretty much uncontested, yeah.
I don't think he has a write-in option.
I don't think so. Okay. Unless there's other council discussion, I'm ready for a motion.
I move that we accept the real estate purchase contract amount as outlined in the packet for 800 South Street with the Payson Business Center LLC and close as soon as possible. And if we have to pay the rollback taxes, we do so.
Sounds good.
Do we need to give the mayor the permission to sign that or?
It's in the resolution.
Okay, I'll second the resolution is
Okay,
moved.
got a motion and a second and a roll call vote, starting with Council Christensen,
Yes.
Council Beecher,
Yes.
Council Hyatt,
Yes.
Council Carter,
Yeah,
and Council Prosgard.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, that takes us to E, work session. Spring Lake Creek Area Specific Plan Update.
Spring Creek, not Spring Lake, right?
Robert.
We're just on Spring Creek.
Yeah, Spring Creek, not Spring Lake Creek.
Didn't I
We don't
say
wanna
that?
open- we don't
Spring
wanna
Creek.
open that
We don't
can of
want to
wrong.
open Pandora's box on that
Spring
one.
Creek Area Specific Plan Update.
We don't want to do the other one.
No.
Because we haven't done anything on it yet.
Put it out a bid or something.
So council, thank you for entertaining us tonight. I'm going to give you just a kind of a brief overview of what's going on. And then I have some questions for you that I need some direction on. As most of you know, this has been in the works for a long, long time. And I'll just point out that we also invited the Planning Commission to attend this work session just to kind of give a general update because
Good to see you guys here. Appreciate you
come to
coming.
them as well. This is the general area that we're talking about tonight. Outlined in red is the original study area, and then where it's shaded, just for reasons that made logical sense, there was a little bit of additional property added to the study area. Yeah, just a little bit of scope creep on our part, but it makes a lot of sense to include that area. So I went over this in one of my meetings with the community, but I thought this would be helpful here as well. You guys are pretty familiar with this, but if there's anybody watching or anything like that, just to understand what an area specific plan is and what it's not. This is an advisory document. It's used to help decision makers and helps property owners understand what the future development is anticipated to be in an area. As much as it's important to understand what an area specific plan is, it's also important to understand what it is not. So if you get questions or people come up to you in the post office or whatever and say, what are you doing out there? Why are you doing all of these crazy things to my property? An area specific plan is not a new zoning map. No zone changes are going to occur because of the adoption of an area specific plan. It's not a change to a current zoning ordinance. And it's not requiring anyone to change what they're currently doing on their property. It's, again, just guidance and advisory for what future plans are for an area. This is the preferred land use plan that has been developed over a long period of time. And a lot of meetings and a lot of consensus building and some concerns that have been expressed. All of you have received some emails about this and things like that. But just to kind of explain, this represents a mix of housing types in the Spring Creek area. It considers and calls for an expansion of business park uses. It allows for some neighborhood scale commercial nodes. It contemplates some additional parks and greenways. And then future roadways have been anticipated on this to give guidance. One of the most important that's been considered here is the future 8 South alignment. So just to kind of go over what each of these mean, we have large lot rural residential development. This is anticipated to be similar to what you actually see out in the West Mountain Spring Creek area already. Larger lots, still available for agricultural uses that have just a variety of options for those property owners. And you can see the areas where the plan anticipates those facilities to be. Low density residential, this is what you would just consider as a traditional single family neighborhood. Single family detached homes, an average of about 4 units to the acre, which is consistent with the current general plan. Everything that you see in yellow is what is considered for that area. These areas that are circled here and in brown, that is what we consider a mixed density residential. These are considered to be like single family detached homes on smaller lots. The possibility of like cottage homes and even some consideration for attached townhouses with an average of about 8 units to the acre in these areas. And you'll notice that the majority of those are located along the 8 South corridor to act as a buffer between that transportation system and the additional single family neighborhoods in the area. And then also along I'll call it Utah Avenue /200 South /10400 South in the vicinity of the existing West Mountain Church in that location.
Why do you have them there? Just out of curiosity.
It was just considered as a node for possible development, and there's an existing church there. It's an existing transportation corridor that could possibly support that type of development there.
It's pretty wet region right there too. I know where it kind of dips down there. There's pond and things down in there.
Yeah, so it is considered that in this area, I'm not sure if you all are familiar with like the Laney's farm there. They have several ponds, and like Councilmember Christensen said, that there is a lot of wet area there. Again, this is just looking into the future of what could possibly be. Additional analysis, additional.
Was blue the church?
The blue is the church.
Right across the street is the Nelsons. Just to the east, and then across Utah Avenue. That's where Laney's would be, because I thought that we were gonna try and keep that pond area.
So
in the red.
So it's in the green. But
So
the red is Nelson's, that's kind of weird.
yeah, so it just creates, it's kind of at the confluence of an east-west and a north-south corridor area. And those areas, when you have those, generally lend themselves to a little bit of nodal commercial. Think about, and I've had this discussion with some of you before, that as you plan for the future and as you land plan, one thing that we want to make available is that you could grab what you needed for Saturday morning breakfast within about a reasonable walking distance of your home. Okay. These are just a little bit more detail on what we would consider that neighborhood scale commercial, small retail space for businesses, convenience store, a fuel area, gas station type of thing, where you can just grab some essentials that you might not need to go all the way to Walmart or the grocery store to grab. Preservation of open space and additional parks is really important in this plan, but you'll notice on here, there are no specific park areas that have been identified on the plan. Those will come as the algorithm of the Parks Master Plan requires, but we're not entirely sure where they're going to go because they could go any place on this. What we did put on here was just kind of following some greenways of the natural vegetation and the natural stream system that's in the area, and also putting greenways along anticipated transportation corridors to allow for those trail systems, allow for additional open space that would be available for everybody. The last thing that I want to talk about tonight is the expanded business park uses. And then I'm going to ask you guys some specific questions about this. So as we met in our working group, there were constant concerns that were brought up about existing industrial uses in the area. And on our general plan, there's actually a call for an expansion of industrial areas in this specific area of the city. That was not received with the greatest excitement, to say the least. And so as we thought about this and worked through it, everybody felt that it would be good to expand business park uses, but everybody also expressed a desire to not allow for future industrial uses in those areas. I want to specifically say, though, that there are existing uses that are already there and that have been there for many, many years. They will be allowed to continue indefinitely because currently they're permitted uses in those areas. Some of those areas are not even in our city right now, and those uses have been allowed to continue. Specifically in the middle there, you can see the existing neighborhood that's at 200 South, right near the railroad tracks. There was a lot of concern expressed by members of that neighborhood about the idea of expanding more heavy industrial uses. And so the idea of business park expansion was much more palatable to that community. And so that was what was agreed upon in the working groups. The idea would be that design standards for this area would be implemented to make sure that the quality of the construction, the structures are fitting for a business park. So getting back to this area though, however, as we've gone through this, as we've talked to some of these landowners and opportunities, there's been some desire that maybe this is an area of our city that actually would support a little bit heavier industrial uses consistent with what's already out there. And so you can see on the general plan on the right side of your screen, the area that we're talking about. It's anticipated to be industrial. One thing that the plan on the left, the Spring Creek plan considers is that we considered realigning that purple spot a little bit. We actually use the stream as a natural barrier and a natural transition to that area, but we expanded it a little bit to the north to an existing roadway along there, rather than just splitting property. And then it expands a little bit to the south as well. But what I wanted to have a discussion about tonight was what land uses do you as council members feel more comfortable with allowing in this area? And I'll just kind of kick it off right there and invite any discussion.
So what is the cement pipe considered?
It's a heavy industrial use,
That's what I thought.
which we had no control
I
over.
kind of felt like we got slapped in the face on that one.
What we did on the last one.
Where we got blindsided. So what, in the area that you're proposing to be just business type park, an extension of it, what would be allowed and what would not be allowed?
See, existing, well, the uses that would be allowed in the future would be more those that are like in the business park now. Enclosed buildings where you can have light manufacturing, kind of office park type stuff. We would gear it more towards that rather than those heavier industrial uses that you would anticipate in an industrial area. That being said, though, you're always going to have those existing uses that are that cement backed plant is established and they can operate there for as long as they desire to.
What would be an example of light industrial? Light manufacturing,
like Jones Paint and Glass.
Okay.
Jones Paint and
Or
Glass.
the metal roofing place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of their operations are enclosed right? They're not having a lot of outdoor storage.
Not a boundary.
They're not
Not a foundry,
creating a lot
a
of,
lumber yard or something like that. would-
yeah, they're not creating a lot of impact on the
Okay.
surrounding areas.
While wanting to make sure we're very sensitive to the residential area, it's kind of an island to itself, and I feel that we can't be held hostage by that. But, what you described sounds like a good use.
Robert,
Yes.
if I may, I drove this several times since you started this. It seems to be with the closing of 400 North there at Olson's Greenhouse at the railroad tracks, that the only accessible way to that area is on Utah Avenue. My concern with Utah Avenue is we've got the truck route that feeds off that and goes around. But Utah Avenue, unless UDOT's willing to widen Utah Avenue freeway bridge, it's pretty well limited to a single lane, which I much favor going down Utah Avenue. But I just see the truck route at some point needs to be addressed to be able to pick up, and perhaps development will do that. And I'm talking out loud, but I'm just concerned that we really have one way in and one way out.
American Way picks that up west of the freeway. My concern is that they're eventually going to need to do a flyover at Utah Avenue and the railroad tracks, which is going to make that 200 South, that dog leg in there is going to be something that needs to be looked at. That might be a corridor preservation kind of thing, because it's going to have to do the opposite turn. It's got to go up and over and provide it. They're not going to let us keep crossing the railroad tracks for much longer.
Yeah, so in our transportation master plan, I think this is a really good conversation. It's not shown on here. I've asked them to, but the transportation master plan actually has the Utah Avenue continue like this and then do a much
Flatter
curve there.
Right through the middle of our concrete batch plant. So they say we don't have control. We do have a little bit there.
The other thing to consider is that there will be a connection from 8 South that continues north to that area in order to serve it. And so this Council Proscard, you're absolutely right that it doesn't currently exist, and development will be the ones that will have to provide for this. But the plan does consider that there will be a transportation network throughout this area that then has a connection to a better facility to the south.
Yep. And there's some possibilities there with the railroad going through and spurs that could alleviate some of that expected traffic as well.
Mr. Hewlett is here to make some comments as well.
Yeah, on this piece of property, I've been talking a little bit to some landowners there, because we have a rail spur that goes in there to IFA. And we've been talking about having a rail hub, because there is no rail hub in all basically Utah County. It would help for other manufacturing areas, but we could maybe have a rail hub there. And we already have two right in the middle of this, two high industrial, high use industrial with the cement plant and the IFA. But so if you put a business park right in the middle of that, and what I'm looking at would be more, your low end industrial, not this cement batch plant, but it'd be more of a hub where they could come in, businesses could come in, bring the trucks in, get something off the rail and leave. So anyway, that's something we've been talking to some landowners there, talking to the inland port people and things like that. So that's just one thing to consider as you're thinking of the uses of this property. I know it does impact those probably a little bit more than a business park to those neighbors there, but it'd be kind of the same type of buildings, In our business park, we have the light industrial too. So anyway, just some things that we've been working on that.
And just so the council knows, too, in general, we've got some resources that we can reach out to and help us in those efforts to make sure it's a manageable thing.
So yeah, further discussion, further questions.
Well, I think that little round part right now is already getting too busy. I don't know how, it doesn't matter which way I'm coming. The diesel, oh, sorry. diesels. Because they don't stay in their lane. They're like crossing the lane, and that's whether they're going east or west
On Utah Avenue.
on Utah Avenue. And I think, oh, what's her name that was here last time? And she was talking about that because of where she lives. Something's gonna happen there. I know to slow down because I know what's coming. But I've seen other people zoom past me. That's something I think we really need to look at sooner than later. Because the road is not wide enough for 2 diesels to be going there, and something's gonna happen.
Can we slow the traffic down there, chief?
It already is. Like 20.
Come on up, chief.
Is it 25 right now?
Yeah.
It's 25.
Well, I've never done it at 25.
We're part of the problem.
I'm part of the problem.
Getting people to obey the law. That was.
That is the other issue right there. And it's tough when you're coming down and you're in a higher speed and then it drops right there. I don't know. It looks good, but I'm supposed to say it doesn't look good so that they don't tar and feather me at home, but nonetheless, that's where we stand on that.
Okay. So I guess from this point, if the council would rather have, and it's up to you as decision makers, if the council would rather have kind of the more traditional industrial uses rather than like business park uses, if that's the direction that you want to go, that's fine. If that's your direction to me, I'll just go back to the neighborhood though, because they'll need to be informed about this. And let them know that that's kind of the direction of council, that there are some existing uses that need to be accommodated. There are some existing needs in the city that we're considering as well, and some existing resources that are available on the site, like the rail hub that Brian mentioned. So for that first question, what is your answer to me?
State the question again.
The question is, do you want to keep traditional industrial uses, maybe not on the intensity of a concrete batch plant, but on like I-1 type uses that would allow for outdoor storage, that would allow for more manufacturing and more intensity, or like the business park type uses that are more enclosed and design guidelines and stuff like that. And maybe as a extra twist there, do you want to use 200 South as like a dividing line for that?
You know, I go back to the comment I made. I certainly am very cognizant of the plight of the residential area there, but we can't be held hostage by a little bit of an island. So I don't want to see a whole bunch of companies like the batch plant there, but the lower echelon, such as lumberyards and different things like that, could benefit from that matrix of the
So a little bit more
railroad.
permissive.
And what's proposed, would that still fly on the lower echelon of industrial?
I honestly, I don't think anything less offensive than the train driving by.
There you go.
Let me
That's what we're
let me make
talking
an
about.
observation. Could I make an observation?
Please.
I think with the rail spurs that Brian's talking about, I would like to leave something open in that area for, there's your lumber companies, when we're talking lumber, that have big storage areas where they stock their large supply of lumber that comes in on train cars for offloading and shipping to other smaller regional areas or local areas. I'm thinking of 3 or 4 of them in the Salt Lake Valley. I think we got to keep our door open for the potential of some of that if we're going to keep the rail spur. that opens the door for things like that to be stored outside, if you will. I don't want to see another cement plant down in that area, but I'm thinking of 3 or 4 different types of industrial uses that could use that rail spur. And if we limit it to just the business park expansion, we might be cutting our nose off despite our face. So I like the idea of a 200 south north of that being a good buffer zone. Maybe the Utah Avenue new reroute would be that buffer zone. I don't think we really need to tie that down at this point, but it's something that we ought to consider.
My concern is that Utah Avenue reroute, that spur is right there. And I don't know if they'll let you move that spur, but that's definitely something that needs to be looked at on an engineering aspect. If you reroute Utah Avenue, is it going to affect that train spur? Because it seems to me like it's right there. And if you have to do an overpass, that train spur may not survive.
That's the resources I'm speaking of that we can tie into to answer some of those questions.
And I mean, it's tough to get rid of a train spur once it's there.
Yep.
But I'm just saying that you're just kind of getting crowded in right there. But well, I mean, it just food for thought. I was over in Springville yesterday, over behind the Flying J. And that's a good example of what we're talking about here. Our business park, I think, is a little bit less manufacturing than that one is, but you drive through there and I don't see any problems with that business park. There's, Wing Enterprises is in there. You've got is it Flowtech, Flowserve, whatever it is in there. You've got IQ, used to be the old Murdoch Mata Suave building back in the day, but some of those kind of manufacturing facilities are in there. And I just don't see it being a big eyesore or a noise ordinance kind of a thing. I think that lighter industrial is fine.
So so along the lines of I-1, not necessarily I-2. We don't want to go down that route.
Right.
I-1 type of use.
I-1 or something similar to that. Because I-1 still allows some stuff that we may not want in that area. But something similar to that.
Okay.
That would be my thought.
I look at it too. I know that Gary's Meat, I don't remember who owns them. Is it Miller owns Gary's Meat now or whatever? They're looking for a bigger meat packing facility. And I think it's I-2, but you got a train spur right there. Sometimes like Tyson Chicken came into Eagle Mountain. That's the I-2. That's what we want to avoid. I'm getting head shakes back in the back of this room.
Yeah.
No, okay. Well, I don't know where they classify and where they fit. So
basically, I-2 is like the ones that use the most resources, have the most impacts, get the most complaints.
So I-1 or something similar.
Yeah.
I-1 or something.
I-1 north.
And I like the cutoff of the Utah Avenue 200 South area.
Yes.
That's where it is, north of there.
It just doesn't seem like there's much. What would you do south of there then?
So yeah, south of there,
park.
there's an existing business.
There's an existing business park. We just
Intermountain Nutrition.
Yeah, no, I know what's there, but you're saying this distinguishing between and I don't see a problem with just keeping that whole purple area that way. I feel bad for people that have. My brother has residential in there, and eventually the property becomes so valuable that it sells out from underneath the house, and they tear the houses down and move on. But it's not. That's the evolution of a city. But
Bob, did you have a comment?
No, I'm with Kurt. I like either the reroute of Utah Avenue or 200 South as it is now constituted in an I-1 area, and leave everything south of 200 South in the business park mode.
And if I remember correctly, when we did the study, for the whole city and everything, and we looked at numbers of acres of business park and I-1 and I-2 and all that, we needed a little bit of I-1, but we needed more business park than we needed
Yes.
Would be my next slide.
So that's what I remember. So I would say we don't want to give up business park where it makes sense to do business park.
Right.
Okay,
All right, so that's question one. Modifying general plan to kind of conform to this proposed plan. We would be changing some boundaries a little bit as far as that industrial area. Does the spring make sense as a natural barrier?
I think so.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, the creek makes a good sense as a natural barrier.
Okay, and then there's a little bit of expansion to the north as well. Are you okay with that expansion? Or do you want to leave that as a buffer for future residential?
I think it's good for the expansion.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I think it'd be
The
good.
last question, after we've gone through this about the Spring Creek plan, what additional information do you want from me before you see it again? The next time that you would see this would theoretically to approve it and make a recommendation on it. So.
Does the planning commission have any comments before we make recommendations?
Doesn't look like it.
I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more. You've got your rural residential, you have your medium density, and you have your high density, but I'm not seeing any low density. Can we put a ribbon of that low density between the rural and the higher density?
What do you,
Agree.
so low,
Low density.
Well, yeah, but if you look over at your graph on the right, you've got high density, which is more than 4. Medium density is 4 units to the acre, and rural residential is 1 unit to the acre. Can we throw a band of low? It would be, I'm assuming 2 to 3 units per the acre would be. Is that?
Going right from 4 to 1.
Yeah, from 4 to 1. I think, am I, run your mouse along there, see your red dotted line across the top?
here.
Yeah, right there. A block and a half, 2 blocks wide right there, I think needs to be light yellow. At least that band right there.
So kind of creating a new designation.
Yeah, it's over there. It's on your right-hand side,
So on the right-hand side.
on your other map.
No, the other map is the.
This one.
Yeah, there you go. That section. See, so it's
So
just
this.
that
this yellow
classification.
corresponds with this yellow.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. The medium density yellow corresponds with that density.
They were done by 2 different consultants.
Yeah, so this medium density.
Is there not a standard color scheme?
We can make them standard.
Too many colors.
Well, at least don't put them on the same slide, then we'd be okay.
That was just a trick question. You were paying attention. Good job.
I agree with him too. I don't think you go.
Doesn't need
right
to be
from
very
4 to
wide, but-
1. I think you go from 4 to 2 to 3 to half acre to an acre.
So.
And I don't think.
I don't
need that
need
many.
you, I don't
so
think
let
you
me-
need to
let
do
me
that
just
many.
explain
No,
about
I
that.
don't
You
think
don't
you need to do
have
that
to
many.
go straight to 4.
Right.
An average, right? So your development doesn't have to
Right.
max it out
But
or
don't you think
things
the
like that.
development will probably go to.
Well, I'm
4?
sure that they will ask you for it, but
But you don't have to give it to them,
That comes back to future council when we get to that point,
maybe.
unless it's tomorrow. You guys ready to build tomorrow?
I think you got a pretty good flavor of what we'd want the year to come back with.
okay.
But I like your comment, Brett. That would be zone designation, whether we do a 1-9, an R9 or an R10 versus an R 7500.
Yeah.
Is that correct, Robert?
That's correct.
So that could just be zone designation at the time of development or the time of annexation or the time of, well, not annexation, at the time of development request.
We could also make some of those clarifications in the actual text of the document.
Mhm.
Because this is, you're just looking at the future land use map. What you'll receive is an actual plan that has text and explanation to go
And
along.
the text just needs to say that we need transition zones between each.
Right. Well, it was like
Amen.
Travis's clarification in the building codes, in the development codes. If it's there, somebody comes in and they buy the property and they say, well, I looked at your maps. This tells me I can build this. I did a feasibility study. This is where I'm at. that's when we get developers that are pushing that. They're pushing for that limit. But if we've kind of clarified that, hey, this is kind of the ballpark we're aiming for, but we need some transitional areas in there, then they're not blindsided.
So if
And
we
then
were
we're
to,
not,
if we were to add that,
What if we just added, Robert, what if we just added on the low density in the parentheses where it says average of 4 units per acre? What if we put up to 4 units per
there you
acre?
go.
we could do that.
And then that changes it because they're going to come in here and say, well, I'm going to put half-acre lots out here, but I'm going to put 1/8 acre lots in here. And we get kind of that quid pro quo. Yeah, but if it says average of 4,
I know, but it's still brown area or the tan is the only place that can go up to 8.
right,
Up to,
4.
up to.
Green is.
up to.
Yeah, but see, it's saying it's still mixed density is an average of 8 units per acre.
So
And
would
this
you-
is where
would you
we run
rather
into the
see
problems
up
of
to
the,
on both of those?
what?
Would you rather see up to? On
I would, yeah, I honestly really
Yep.
would, because we ran into that problem with the guy that was, when we first put on council 5-6 years ago, and he was doing the 52 townhomes or whatever it was over by 8 South, and it was, well, I've got to get, he was taking 2 feet out of each house to put the RV parking in because he was entitled to those exact numbers. And that's where it was really frustrating to me. And he built paper lots and then sold the paper lots and we built, then somebody else came in and built them. And that's my thought is if we can kind of put those checks and balances in, it makes your job way easier.
Well, that's been really helpful. Let me just move on a little bit.
Question before you move on.
Yep.
Where you've got avenue comes out to the railroad tracks, is that spur not basically head directly straight west right there?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah, it
right
does.
here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map right here and it's essentially straight west.
Clips the corner of that Quonset hut right there.
So my thought would be on the I-1 industrial area right there. Wouldn't it be better just to block that off? So you actually use some of the south side. So there's actually some lots on the south side of that spur, plus I-1 going back to the north. That way you have a.
Yeah, but
Well, that's
where the
where
200 south would give us. That gives them 2 city blocks to the south.
Well, 2 city blocks, but I'm just wondering, if you make the mark here, I-1 back this way, so you have the spur coming through, that gives you a business park cushion into the.
Go into that residential.
It's just,
residential.
it's really not that much. It's just that one.
Owns the land, wants the rail spur to move down to his land, owns down. So,
Yeah.
that would take him out of there.
I couldn't hear what Brian just said.
Linda,
He said that the owner of the property at 200 south is the one that's wanting the train spur down that far. If we cut him off short, it's gonna
Oh,
stop what he's doing.
thank you.
No, that was great. We were going to say the same thing. It's a good observation. Okay, just moving on a little bit and thinking a little bit more globally within our community. These are some comparisons that Brian Hewlett has put together for us, talking a lot about what Kirk had brought up about the availability of I-1 and I-2 in our community business park, things like that. Brian, do you want to come up and go through these with me?
Yeah, that was my feeling too.
Brian has the smallest font on his computer ever. How's that?
Great.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Napa's just literate.
So as I've been looking at land in Payson, it's as people have called in like Kenworth and trying to put in a place here in Payson. And with Paris RV trying to do a covered storage or storage for RVs and boats. As I started looking at land availability, it's really, really tough, especially highway commercial. For Kenworth, there's only like 2 spots that we could even find, even have them look at. One was the Flying J property and one was down by where the veterinary clinic is. And so there's only like 2 spots and they didn't want to be by the veterinary clinic because of the housing there, the apartments, they didn't want to be close to them. So anyway, so I started looking at the different lands that we have because we're tied up going north because of the church property. And then they go north, so that'll be a while. So anyway, this is the I-1 we have. So we have basically 223 acres that are built out that are not available. We have like 70 acres available, but 56 of that is around just north of the business park. And that's pretty much all planned for businesses already building, so that's pretty much gone. So that leaves us maybe 20 acres of I-1 in the city. So then I-2, I'm not quite concerned about that because I don't think it's anything that we really want to attract to the city, but that's up to the council. But that's your batch plants and things like that. So we have 6.5 acres available on that. You want to scroll?
Does that include Geneva's addition?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's total of Geneva there.
Yep.
Is that, how's that coming, Robert? Is it about done? Are they ready to start to build on that, or?
The Geneva, the plant.
Yeah.
So they've submitted some applications to UDOT access, and we're working with UDOT and Geneva and WICP piece for access. Concerns.
And we had a good meeting today.
Sorry, I just was following up.
No, it's good.
kind of been a slow process.
No, it's good.
So the next thing I looked at is the business park property that we have available there, and that's not quite as bad, but that's being built out pretty quickly. So we need to start looking at another business park someplace. And we're going to add some more land on the other side with this area specific plan. And we just added 30 acres otherwise with the church property, but we'd be basically out of most of the land there. So right now we have 108 acres available, with 30 of that just coming in. But some of that, like the land next to the condo units, are already building a place there. So I don't know how much land's left there. The 33 acres of Russell Rich property that was under contract, I think that fell through, but there's another people looking at that. So basically, if you take those out, you have maybe 50, 60 acres available in the business park. Then the next one I looked at was just the highway commercial. This is the one where where we have a hard time finding anything. This is what available acres that we have. We have the Brown property, which has 25 acres. They have plans for that. They're in the planning process to build some office warehouse there. You got UDOT that has, that's unavailable. That's right by the power plant. Then you got the land by the veterinary clinic. There's about 6 acres there. You got Flying J property. And then you got the 800 South interchange. And one thing, like the 800 South interchange, there's a big, nice piece there, but I didn't talk to Kenworth about it because I want a hotel or restaurants there. I don't want a Kenworth right on that corner.
Yay.
Kenworth South, is that what you're looking at?
It's their sales service, the whole thing.
It isn't a big
Don't they usually
parking
put
lot.
those like way out?
Garbage
Salt Lake?
They want them right on the interstate. I've had 3 blocks off of the interstate and they say, no, that's too far away. So, so then you got just a few other places, but the biggest piece there is the Woodbury piece, and we know what's happening there. But so there really there's hardly any S1. So I'm really concerned about the next 5 years of how we're going to accommodate these people that bring sales tax and jobs if we don't have the land available. So something just have to start looking at and thinking about, because it's going to be a problem for us for growth. We're growing with houses. And we got more land for that, but these are some of the challenges that we need to think about. So
let me just move this back over and say all of these properties that Brian has been talking about coincide with our general plan map. And the suggestion that I think Brian's making is, I think we need to look at this and say, how much additional space do we need? And even more importantly, where are we going to put it? Because as you can see, everything on this map is planned, And so at this point, it's not a matter of going out and grabbing more stuff. It's how are we going to move it around in the conversations
I think
that
you're
we
gonna
would
have to
be.
go more like in that light yellow.
Yeah, and that's the
Because
whole
there's
point,
not homes
Teresa.
there. I mean, that's the most logical place,
There are some homes.
but there's very few. Do you know what I'm
And-
saying?
It's a logical place to look.
It's going to be a balancing act, and it's going to be, some decision making on this council's part of saying, okay, if we're going to change this color, then it's going to
What are the
change
impacts?
change the rest of our land uses within our
Right.
city. So
It's dynamic.
yeah, it is going to be dynamic, and I think it's going to also be determinant on how fast you want to move on something like this. I think that Brian has expressed that there's some concerns about availability now. We do have available property. It's just a lot of it is currently in another use. And so some of it we'll have to determine about the market on when that's ready to turn. And maybe we might not be able to go after some certain things in the interim. Those are just decisions that we want to make sure that you're prepared to make.
Well, we need to think about that because we sure don't have very much ground. I mean,
Actually,
do you know what I'm saying?
that city that you see up there is enormous.
Yeah, that's a big city
That's
right there.
that will
Yes,
be
but
the
we're
biggest city in Utah County land-wise.
As far as
As far as
Industrial?
area-wise,
That-
Payson.
That red line is what he's talking about. The red line
That's
around
right.
everything.
Go to 8,000 south. And
Well, I wasn't looking at the whole red line. I was just looking where we could put some industrial.
There is quite a bit on this map, but it's getting the infrastructure and getting it ready to be able to use.
It's not usable right now
Yeah.
is the biggest problem.
Yep.
We can't attract somebody to use it
If it's not.
because it's cost prohibitive right now.
And then it's also the balancing act of constantly adding new space. What does that do for what we have existing?
Right.
Let's not remember that the proposed I-15 is going to greatly impact what we're discussing right now.
Yep.
In many, many ways.
Yep.
So I think that this is just kind of a way of saying that land use in Payson is going to be dynamic. And the way that we look at it is going to be some dynamic decisions. We're at 2022, almost into 2023. Our general plan was approved in 2020. Generally, they go every 5 years or so.
We just did it. Wasn't it last week?
Time flies.
I've been here almost a year and I'm still trying to get the Spring Creek plan approved. So, any other additional questions from me?
Looks like we're good.
No.
Okay, I really appreciate the direction tonight. So I'll go back to the neighborhood, kind of explain a little bit more refinement of that I-1 area. And then we will get this scheduled for planning commission. And then planning commission will make a recommendation to city council.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, everybody.
Jill, thank you as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I believe that brings us to.
So moved.
Motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you.